I've got the dump truck behind me, and the tarp. When I bought the dump truck, they said, "Oh, the tarp's in pretty good shape." And of course, I didn't actually extend it out to look at it because it's not an automatic tarp. The tarp has more holes in it than it does sections of non-hold. The arm on the driver's side is broken. The top, it's tied together with like a fencing wire. And the spring broke on this side creates the tension to make it fly back, and I just didn't want to fix it, so I got an electric tarp kit from Carolina Tarps, and we're going to take the old one off, which we've got a couple more bolts to do, and then we're going to do a full install on the Carolina Tarp kit. I got about 850 or so into the tarp kit. There's not that many videos about installing the tarps, and so I figured since we got to do it anyway, let's video it. So we'll go ahead and get started. The kit shipped out in 3 boxes, 1 square heavy box. It's got, looks like some 90s for the tarp arms, a whole lot of wire, probably more than I even need, but maybe I'm wrong. Switch, bracket, bolts, instructions, probably a motor, I'm assuming. And then this one I'm assuming is a spool, at least it better be, it's long. And then this box is lighter. I don't know, maybe that's a folded up tarp, I'm not sure, but 3 boxes. I've already disconnected the part that is goes right there. And I've got to disconnect this here to get this top spool off. This is where they held it together with wire. It's crappy. I already got this one off. We got to take that off. So that 1 bolt is left, and then the 2 bolts here, and that'll hopefully get everything off. Those are real rusty. I'm gonna just drop them off, and we'll see what happens. There's our piece of junk tarp kit. I mean, not the kit. That's our old tarp. I mean, here's our piece of junk old tarp. This thing's actually kind of heavy. I know I'm going to fall backwards on this thing. That didn't work. The first thing that we're supposed to do is to choose the mounting location and install the mounting brackets. And these are the mounting brackets, okay? And what I've done here is I've kind of used an 8-foot rod to see where the center of this is and kind of see where it lines up on the truck, okay? Just to make sure it's not going to catch on the door, because you can actually have this so far forward that the diagonal actually covers like down here and interferes with the door. That's not going to be a problem with this truck. So the old tarp kit was like right here. I've moved it back to here. I was going to move it all the way to the edge. What I think I'm going to do actually is eventually I'm going to put some square tubing across here and weld it, and I'm going to build a wind deflector. So I decided that to keep this easy to measure, we'll just make the bracket from the inside of this square tube and call it a day. And I verified that it's not going to cause an issue with the fitment. So, and then in terms of making it straight, I've kind of just monitored this gap in the line here. Because with my C-clamp, there's not a good way to measure, but I do believe that is very straight. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drill a 1/2-inch hole here and here, and then we're going to attach that hardware. And then we're going to go do the same side. And the ones with the 2 holes here, that's how you know it's your front. That's for the wind deflector if you got it. I didn't get it. I think I'm going to make my own, but my C-clamp here is broken, so we are going to be reusing this one once we fit that. So I'm going to go ahead, and I just went and got 2 drill bits from Ace Hardware. And for this project, you need a 3/8 drill bit, a 1/2-inch, and a 3/4 drill bit. And we're going to use a 1/2-inch first. It may not be the 1/2-inch. The instructions don't actually tell you what size hole to drill. which I thought was really odd. But a 1/2 inch is going to cut into that plate, which I can't imagine that they want you to do. We'll drill it first with the 3/8 bit. We might. Then I'm gonna do there. Now that I've got something started, because I double checked, that is a 1/2 inch. That is a 1/2 inch bolt that goes through that. So I'm gonna switch back out to the 1/2 inch now, since I have a mark put on here, or start of a drill hole. Because I know that's gonna have to be 1/2 inch, because the bolt that goes through it's a 1/2 inch bolt. So. Garage. There. That is drilled. And I'm sorry if the camera fell. Okay, and it shows us using a bolt and a nut. It doesn't show us using any washers, but bolt, nut. Now let's see if we have any washers that do fit this. We have a washer. What do we got? 1, 2. There ain't 4. We do have 4 washers. We'll put them on the nut side, I think. It's almost like these weren't drilled out enough for these 1/2 inch screws. Well, 1/2 inch bolts. All right, well, I'm gonna have to drill these out at 1/2 inch. I know these are 1/2 inch. That's 1/2 by 1. Proper size holes. And I've triple checked. That's the size of the hole. So there we go there. And it doesn't call for a washer, but if I'm wrong, then I will go get more washers at the hardware store, because I would like to put a washer on that. In all reality, I'd like to put a washer on both sides, but that's not what they're calling for, and I don't want to make a separate trip to the hardware store unless I have to, so. So here you can see how this looks, and it's actually going to look pretty good, I think, when it's on the truck and everything. And it's definitely sturdy. And I think once the spindle's in it, it'll kind of square it out. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I think that's pretty good. Mounting the Tarp motor and Tarp spool. Measure from the inside of one mounting bracket to the inside of the other and cut the Tarp axle 1 inch shorter than that length. Technically, the inside is 84 1/4. We took this over to my dad so I could use a table saw, and we got this cut at 83 5/16, which is 1 inch short of what it was. And so one end is not cut, it's got these holes here, okay? And then the other end had a hole, but doesn't have a hole anymore. So we need to measure in 3/4 of an inch from the end, and we need to drill a new hole, 3/8 inch hole. 3/4 of an inch. Okay. All right, so I got that cut in at 3/4. Now we're going to see what the rest of the instructions are. Okay, after cutting, drill a new 3/8 hole through the axle on the side that you cut. Slide the motor shaft through the center of the hole into I wonder if this will be easier on the driver's side or the passenger side. Just want something to hold this here, so I don't have to worry about it coming out. Okay. I'm not seeing yet that I would have really had to make that cut, but maybe I'm wrong because you only have a motor on one side. But I could be wrong. Like I said, I could totally be wrong. Okay, so here's where we're at. So I went ahead and used this hole. There's two in this shaft. I used the one closest out. I don't know yet whether that's a mistake or not a mistake. And then I found the 5/16 bolt that goes all the way through. I would have liked a washer on both sides, the top and the bottom. There's not enough bolt room for that. And then on this side, you've got this bearing that you have to assembly, and then a piece of rod, and then you do the same thing. And I've got about the same gap there, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. And, you know, I don't know. We'll see. So now I'm getting ready to secure this bearing. So I'm going to tighten these up. There's Allen screws I need to tighten here. I don't have any Allens with me. But the motor definitely, I mean, I'm doing something right because it doesn't free spin. So I don't know yet how this attaches. I just stuck these in. Don't even seem to be the right threads. But I stuck them in just to hold the motor there. But I got to go do a couple things, and I'll be back in just a little bit. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. I'm not going to do the wiring of the motor right now because to me that's the last step. I want to get all the mounts and everything done. So what it tells you to do, that gives you a couple different ways to measure. But I measured from the center of the axle to about right here, and I got 11 feet. And half of 11 feet is 5.5 feet. So I put a mark at 5.5 feet right here. Okay. I'm sorry, 5.5 feet right here. Okay. And then I measure from the back of this, okay, to where this was. And what I got was 53 inches. So then this was my way of transferring it down. So then I went to the end of this bed again, and 53 inches is where we want this. Now, I am missing hardware. Unless those bolts that we put these, unless the bolts that we put these in with were wrong, okay, which I measured them, those are 1/2 inch screws or 1/2 inch bolts. Unless those bolts were wrong, either those bolts were meant to use for this bracket, or I'm missing bolts, one or the other. Now, the other bolts I have are nowhere near that diameter. I mean, they're like tiny, and I wouldn't have trusted that to hold that. So, I mean, I would have used those regardless there. But anyway, so needless to say, it calls for an inch by 1.5 inches by 5/8, which, like I said, I measured those on camera. I really think those are the 1/2 inch bolts it was calling for, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, what we're going to do here instead, this mounts and it'll be centered on the 53. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weld this. I'll grind these, put a little coat of paint on, and that's probably all we're going to do tonight. Okay, so I just wanted to give an update on where I'm at on this install. So some of this I don't have footage of, but I'm going to shorten that most likely. But I ran 3/4 inch conduit, and I probably should have used 1 inch. The instructions called for 3/4, but it was a little pushing it. So I came down here and I just put a little weld. Actually, what I was trying to do was weld on the inside, but this one kind of ate away because that was the first one I did, and I didn't have the machine adjusted. But I ran conduit to there, put a 90 there, went on the inside of this track. Actually, I got some quarter round. I'm sorry, not quarter round. I got some angle iron, and I actually tack welded 10 foot of angle iron on the inside of that. Had the wire come all the way down, and then we went around the hinge, and then we went back up, and I still got to zip tie this, but we went back up along the bottom part of the I-frame, along the truck, and we came up in the fender wall. And what I ended up doing, I just ended up, instead of making a hole, I didn't have one big enough, I just came through this housing right on the top here. I just came through that. This is where I've mounted it, and we've got wind and unwind, and the circuit breaker up here. So we got all that wired, and that's going to be very, very truck specific. I had enough wire, but just barely. I just barely had enough wire. And then I came out of that housing, that transmission cover area, came out on this side, came over, and went into the battery box. So, and that's pretty much what I've done so far. And the rest, the arms and everything, will continue on. Okay, so the next thing that I did was I test fitted these, and then I took these off. I had to raise the dump bed so that these side poles could go all the way straight up and down. And then I took this off and I loaded these 4 springs. And when it's face down, when it's straight up and down, this piece here will always be towards the rear of the dump bed. So that is how they go. 1 silver bushing went in there, 1 silver bushing here it went, and then this retainer clip. And then you roll them up. And as you roll them up, it gets spring tension because it sets on, this spring sets on this this rod in here. So that's how they operate. I'm just making final adjustments. The tarp goes through that. And then up there, there's a threaded part to the rod up there, and which I will show you. Hold on. And there's a threaded part. Now they gave me five hardware for this, so I just went here, and I just put 2 here. I'm probably going to go to Ace when they're open and get 1, 2, 3 more, because there's no point in not just having this all covered. But I centered this, and so now all I got to do is run the tarp, and it should spring everything up. I've got to undo this here. I got to find my Allen to get that sucked in all the way, and then I've got to tighten those. And then once I get that done, I will be rolling the tarp up, and then the motion of rolling the tarp up is what will bring these the rest of the way, to the dump truck. So okay, so I think I got the final adjustments made. Let's hope so. I'm going to run it real quick and we'll see what happens. All right, so that concludes our install video of the Carolina Tarps dump truck tarp cover. I would say it probably took almost a whole day. If I would have done it all in one day, it would have been probably a whole day's worth of labor. I still got to put the chrome cover on, but overall, this would be a good overview of what it takes to install one of these. I'm going to use it for a little bit, and then there'll be another video for a review of it. But I hope you found that useful, and definitely like and subscribe, and we'll continue bringing more videos of things we do on the farm. Thanks.